Welcome to Warhammer 40k lore in the Bible, where I pull from Warhammer 40k lore to help explain biblical lore. And today we're going to be going over the Maccabean Janissaries. And in the book of Maccabees, which was in the 1611 Bible, but it's not necessarily canon, I guess you could say, we're going to be talking about the Maccabees and this Maccabean revolt. And on the second part, we're going to talk about St. Drusus and, of course, Judas Maccabeus, which is where the Maccabees get their name. So, now, I am not a lore expert, and take the wikis with a grain of salt, as there's a lot of stuff in the wikis that isn't canon anymore. This is just a starting space for the biblical stuff and whatnot. So, anyways, if you like what you see, please consider a like and subscription, as that is what pushes the video out there. And I want to thank everyone who supports the video and those who like the video and dislike the video. Thank you for at least giving me a chance. So, let's get started. So we're going to go to history. Okay. A world of vast, dry, salt flats, dust-laden winds, and harsh, chill sun. The fifth planet of the unforgiving Maccabean system is nevertheless a blessed place. Blessed not because of the resources it is gifted with, which are few, or because of the climate, which is harsh, but because of the faith, for this is the place where a great man fell and was raised up as a saint by the glory of the emperor. The chronicles of the Angevin Crusade tell that General Drusus, commanding the trailward salient of the crusade, had pushed towards the halo stars, hoping to carve out a stable imperial domain in what had been a fraught and bitter decade of war, when a sudden and vicious resurgence of hostilities in the region around Spectorus at his rear caused his advance to shudder to a halt. The order to mass and regroup was given. The planet chosen for this gathering was an uninhabited world in the obscure Maccabean system. And as Drusus' forces gathered, the general himself prayed to the god emperor for guidance. The emperor protects, knowing that a wrong choice could jeopardize the fate of the whole crusade. Disaster struck as, employing unholy methods, his enemies discovered Drusus' location and unleashed a deadly assassin against him. Drusus fell. But even as the inward blow, the deleted blow, was struck, did the power of the emperor rend apart the assassin and spare the great man. After 10 days and nights in shadow did Drusus return, and the light of the emperor was within him. In the years that followed, Drusus knew not defeat one by one his enemies fell, and from the ashes of his conquest, the Calixtus sector was born. In the centuries following the crusade, Drusus was declared a saint of the imperial cult for his miraculous return and subsequent triumph, and the site of his miracle was declared a shrine world of the Adeptus Ministorum. To this day, Maccabeus Quintus is a site of pilgrimage for the faithful across the Calixtus sector, and is the heart of the Drusian cult within the sector's ecclesiarchy. The world's harsh and unforgiving landscape is walked by countless pilgrims every year, many of whom spend the remainder of their lives there, giving themselves to the devotion of the emperor. Unlike many shrine worlds, Maccabeus Quintus has a significant military tradition all its own, following in the footsteps of their patron. Discipline and endurance are regarded as the greatest of virtues, and to defend or expand the imperium in battle is regarded as the most pious form of worship. With the sheer number of pilgrims arriving on-world each year, a considerable population of the imperial devout exists on the Maccabeus Quintus, which in turn provides an ample and diverse supply of potential candidates to the Maccabean militias, the world's planetary defense force, the finest of which are chosen to join the Maccabean Janissaries. To date, none have refused this honor, for all are driven by faith in the spirit of pilgrimage, and to become a Janissary is to embark upon a pilgrimage of a different sort, carrying the emperor's wrath to dark and distant places. As noted, while it is rare for an imperial guardsman ever to return to his world, or his homeworld, Janissaries never do so. They press on to ever more distant war zones and get deleted fighting on countless distant worlds. Even those who are demobilized at campaign's end will often find themselves on other pilgrim trails in other parts of the Imperium, guarding the faithful from the predations of the heretic and the alien. All right, we're going to move on. Well, first, I want to, get us to know what a Janissary is, the historical context of it. So, a Janissary, member of an elite corps in the standing army of the Ottoman Empire from the late 14th century to 1826, highly respected for their military prowess in the 15th and 16th centuries. The Janissaries became a powerful political force within the Ottoman state. During peacetime, they were used to garrison frontier towns and police the capital, Istanbul. They constituted the first modern standing army in Europe. And what's interesting is that a lot of these guys were Christians. So that is not all of them, of course, but some of them were. Okay, so that is what a Janissary is. All right. Now, these are the Maccabees. The name Maccabee was a title of honor given to Judas, a son of Matthias, and the hero of the Jewish wars and the independence from 168 to 164 BCE. Later, the name Maccabees was extended to include his whole family, specifically Matthias, his father, and Judas's four brothers, John, Simon, Eleazar, and Jonathan. It's used also as extended to John Hyrcanus, Simon's son, who was next in succession. There is no unanimity about the meaning of the title Maccabee. The Hebrew may be read as hammer or hammerer or extinguisher. Since Judas held the initiative in the long war against the Syrians, he was probably regarded in the same light as King Edward I of England, who was known as the Hammer of the Scots. Okay, so now we're going to read a little bit here. So actually, I should probably read a little bit so we can understand the context. So throughout the 2nd century BCE, the city-state of Jerusalem and Judah lay between the two great powers of Egypt and Syria. The Ptolemies ruled in Egypt and the Seleucids in Syria. These were residential states that had been left when Alexander the Great's empire broke up about 20 years after his deletion. Antiochus IV ruled Syria from 175 to 163 BCE. He carried the substitute name Epiphanes, a Greek word meaning God manifest. A conqueror of overweening pride, as he described in the book of Daniel, or in the Bible. He set out to seize Judea, which until then had been a province of Egypt. He aimed moreover to unify his vast and heterogeneous empire behind the worship of Zeus, and therefore severely restricted the practice of Judaism, whose strict monotheism impeded the realization of that policy. All right, so we're going to see what Antiochus did to start this war. Okay. So, verse 16, this is chapter 1, the Maccabees. Okay. Now, when the kingdom was established before Antiochus, he thought to reign over Egypt, that he might have the dominion of two realms. Wherefore he entered into Egypt with a great multitude, with chariots and elephants and horsemen, and a great navy. And he made war against Ptolemy, king of Egypt. But Ptolemy was afraid of him, and fled, and many were wounded to deletion. Thus they got strong cities in the land of Egypt, and he took the spoils thereof. And after that Antiochus had smitten Egypt, he returned again in the 143rd year, and went up against Israel in Jerusalem with a great multitude, and entered proudly into the sanctuary, and took away the golden altar, and the candlestick of light, and all the vessels thereof. Excuse me. Got a lot of air in me today. and the table of showbread, and the pouring vessels, and the vials, and the censers of gold, and the veil, and the crown, and the golden ornaments that were before the temple, all which he pulled off. He took also the silver and the gold, and the precious vessels. Also he took the hidden treasures which he found. And when he had taken all away, he went into his own land, having made a great massacre, and spoken very proudly. Therefore there was a great mourning in Israel, in every place where they were, so that the princes and elders mourned. The virgins and the young men were made feeble, and the beauty of women was changed. Every bridegroom took up lamentation, and she that sat in the marriage chamber was in heaviness. So Antiochus came in, he took everything and destroyed everything, right? And then the main thing that did it was he sacrificed a pig in the temple. So that's what really set it off. And the Maccabees started with Matthias, right? But then it really went to Judas. And he was a priest, but he started the rebellion, and they actually won. Not necessarily won, but they were able to get Jerusalem back. And then that's where Hanukkah comes in. That's what Hanukkah is based off of this right here. So first Maccabees 4:8. Then Judas to the men that were with him. The men that were with him, fear ye not their multitude, neither be afraid of their assault. Remember how our fathers were delivered in the Red Sea. Or you know what? I was supposed to read from 5. I'm sorry. Anyways, in the mean season came Gorgias by night into the camp of Judas. And when he found no man there, he sought them in the mountains. For said he, these fellows flee from us. But as soon as it was day, Judas shewed himself in the plain with 3,000 men, who nevertheless had neither armor nor swords to their minds. And they saw the camp of the heathen, that it was strong and well harnessed, encompassed round about with horsemen, and these were expert of war. Then Judas to the men that were with him, fear ye not their multitude, neither be ye afraid of their assault. Remember how our fathers were delivered in the Red Sea, when Pharaoh pursued them with an army. Now therefore let us cry unto heaven, if peradventure the Lord will have mercy upon us, and remember the covenant of our fathers, and destroy this host before our face this day, that so all the heathen may know that there is one who delivered and saveth Israel. Okay. And of course, like I said, they were victorious at this, and they were able to get, they were able to get Jerusalem and the temple back. Okay. Now we're going to talk about St. Drusus. Drusus was a Lord General Militant of the Astra Militarum and the second leader of the Angevin Crusade that conquered the Calix Expanse in the Segmentum Obscurus and founded the Calixus sector for the Imperium of Man in the early 39th millennium. Drusus was initially a subordinate commander to the Lord General Militant Gogena Angevin, who first led the Angevin Crusade, which had been named for him. But after the Angevin's mental breakdown, Drusus took de facto command of the waning imperial crusade against the chaos-corrupted Xenos race known as the Yuvath and their allies. After he had gained the political favor of the High Lords of Terra, jealous rival generals of the crusade attempted to delete the rising star with assassins. Though supposedly slain during their attempt, Drusus was seemingly resurrected as a living saint, leading many to believe that he also held a special place in the eyes of the Emperor of Mankind. As a result, Drusus was formally granted full command of the crusade by the Senatorum Imperialis and led a new massive offensive that saw the final destruction of the Yuvath and the establishment of the imperial settlement in which became the Calixus sector. Drusus is hailed as a great hero and imperial saint across the Calixus sector to this day. All right. So now, in the book of Maccabees here, we're going to talk about Judas Maccabeus. Judas Maccabeus was a Jewish guerrilla leader who defended his country from invasion by the Seleucid king Antiochus IV Epiphanes. And what I was going to say, kind of spaced it out there, is that they fought with guerrilla tactics, right? As what a small revolution army would do. Yeah. Preventing the imposition of the Hellenism upon Judea and preserving the Jewish religion. And what's important about the Maccabees here is that there would be no Jerusalem, of course, when Jesus came. So they played a pivotal part of why Jerusalem was still there. Anyways, so preventing the imposition of Hellenism in Judea and preserving the Jewish religion. The son of Matthias, an aged priest who took to the mountains in rebellion. So it first started with Matthias, and then it finally came to Judas. When Antiochus attempted to impose the Greek religion on the Jews, Judas took over the rebel leadership on his father's deletion and proved to be a military genius, overthrowing 4 Seleucid armies in quick succession and restoring, oh my goodness, I can't read today, sorry guys, restoring the Temple of Jerusalem. This deed is celebrated in the Jewish Festival of Lights, Hanukkah. On Antiochus's deletion in 164 BCE, the Seleucids offered the Jews freedom of worship, but Judas continued the war, hoping to free his nations politically as well as religiously. Although he himself was deleted 2 years later, his younger brothers took over the fight, finally securing the independence of Judea. All right, so we're going to read that right here. This is still the Maccabees here. I just got lazy. So, anyways, 41. Then Judas ordered some of his soldiers. Nope. Okay. They purified the temple and took the stones that had been defiled and put them in unclean place. They discussed what should be done with the altar of burnt offerings, which had been desecrated by the Gentiles, and decided to tear it down so that it would not stand. There is a monument to their shame. So they tore down the altar and put the stones in a suitable place on the temple hill, where they were to be kept until a prophet should appear and decide what to do with them. So this is a 400-year period where there was no prophets, there was no word from God, until, of course, Jesus came. They repaired the temple inside out and dedicated its courts. They made new utensils for worship and brought the lampstand, the altar of incense, and the table for the bread into the temple. They burnt incense on the altar and lit the lamps of the lampstand. So this isn't them fully getting independence. This is where they take the temple back when Judas was still alive, basically, as I do believe. Yes, so Judas ordered, his soldiers to take the men in the fort, and he purified the temple. Okay. I'm sorry, guys. I'm all whacked out today. They repaired the temple inside out and dedicated courtyard. Okay. They burned incense on the altar and lit the lamps on the lampstand, and there was light in the temple. They placed the loaves of bread on the temple, hung the curtains, and completed all the work. The 20th day of the 9th month of the month of Kislev, in the year 148, was the anniversary of the day of the Gentiles had desecrated the altar. On that day, a sacrifice was offered on the new altar in accordance to the law of Moses. The new altar was dedicated and hymns were sung to the accompaniment of harps, lutes, and cymbals. All the people bowed down with their faces to the ground and worshipped and praised the Lord for giving them victory. All right, here we go. For 8 days they celebrated the rededication of the altar. With great joy, they brought burnt offerings and offered fellowship offerings and thank offerings. They decorated the front of the temple with gold crowns and shields, rebuilt the gates and the priests' rooms, and put doors on them. So this is the rededication of the temple. So this is what Hanukkah is about. Okay. So the 8-day Jewish festival of Hanukkah begins on Sunday, December 22nd, from Melbourne and New York to Berlin and Moscow. So I'm not sure when it actually was. I think, as you see here, the story of Hanukkah, how a minor Jewish holiday was remade in the image of Christmas, right? So I'm not sure if it's supposed to be on Christmas or not, or around, or in December. But anyways, I'm just being honest here. So thousands of people will gather to light giant menorahs in many places. These public ceremonies will be accompanied by music, street food, and carnivals. This is like that. It's a festival dedicated to the Maccabees, basically, right? And the rededication of the temple and what their sacrifice did. Okay. These events may primarily target Jewish communities, but given their prominent locations, many non-Jews will also participate. In the U.S. especially, Hanukkah has become a widely recognized holiday, as well as lighting the national menorah in Washington, D.C. The president hosts an annual Hanukkah party in the White House. In big cities like New York, parents of Jewish children are often invited into elementary school classrooms to explain Hanukkah to students. Hanukkah's ever entered. Okay, well, you guys don't care about that. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this. And again, thank you for supporting me and my channel. Thank you for the 600 subscribers. Like this isn't done just by me, right? It's all because of you guys. So thank you. And you guys are fulfilling my dream to become a YouTuber. And I thank you. And thanks to all the people who like the videos or dislike it. Again, thank you for at least giving me a chance. But anyways, you guys enjoy your weekend and have a great day.